Dr. Alaa Zeitoun, thank you so much for joining us today.
Maha, it's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Can you please just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, so usually when I introduce myself, I talk about being a global citizen. So I grew up in this region. It's one of the most amazing regions. I was born in Cairo, Egypt, actually in Giza by the pyramids.
Wow.
This region to me is an amazing example of what the future is going to be. And that's why I come here and that's why I enjoy this. I'm an engineer by training, by background. My PhD is in engineering, civil engineering, focused on construction. However, my entire life has been dedicated to the principles of project management. I've been around PMI, for example, the Project Management Institute for a long time, but also my industry experience and consulting experience has always had a project or a change management component to it. So I'm excited to be with you and I'm looking forward to our dialogue.
Thank you so much. So in your opinion, how do forums like GPMF contribute to advancing the profession of project management?
Yeah, it's amazing. So for example, I live in the US right now. I've been in the US for a long time. I live around Washington, DC, and there's the landscape of driving the biggest investments, for example, that the world has and so on. But when you look at GPMF, given what I love about the opportunity aspect that exists in the kingdom, for example, and taking that to also create a global example, GPMF attracts global minds, attracts a variety of almost hungry mindsets that are willing to not only absorb new ideas and innovation, but also prove that these can be put in practice and create immediate results. So you see the mix of nationalities, you see the mix of topics, you see the focus on process and technology and the people. And if you think about where the future is taking us, even with AI and the changes there, this is a right event to almost encourage us to have this, what I call a sponge-like mindset, the ability to almost continuously question ideas, grab the ideas that matter, look at the next generation, look at the kingdom, and look at the percentage of people who are actually young generation, next generation. If we can create the impact from here and replicate that across the region and ultimately globally, I think this could be an amazing, continuously looked at case study. So I look at events like this to create multiple applicable case studies that we can actually take on and not only utilize in the region, but actually let the world learn from the region. Usually you think about the region has to learn from the world. I do believe tremendously that GPMF can be the place where the region can draw enough examples that the rest of the world want to actually replicate.
That's great. That's amazing. So any personal insight or experiences that's related to your work or industry that you would like to share?
Yeah, one of the recent things that I've ended up being is an author. Suddenly I was just signing a book here. I was very happy that my new book just came out.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's about creating experience-driven culture. Another attraction point why I'm here is because this is the place where you can actually almost create that new culture. You have enough, not only the innovation, but enough, as I mentioned earlier, attraction to test new things, So personal experiences, like for example, if I look at my recent work in Siemens, I was fortunate enough to work in what's called digital industries. And there I was asked by not only me, but a group of, a task force, almost think about it, by the board, to think about how can an organization, even with that success, continue to dive into what we call the blue ocean, how to develop a risk appetite and so on. So my personal experience is that it is possible. It is possible that no matter how successful you are or not, the best in the country, for example, the Aramcos of the world or the best ministries that we have here on the ground, there's always room for testing what can we do differently if we just increase, for example, our risk appetite. If we think of our governance in a more fluid kind of a governance model, that it's not only about processes or controls or templates, etc., but let's think our view of value or meaning. PMI, for example, and the rest of the profession has been talking a lot about changing views of success. So why don't we turn into, I have 3 layers, for example, in the book. One is about the head, the heart, and the hand. So very easy to remember, the 3H we call it. And that head foundation, we focus on that. It's about the business case. It's about the link to strategy, etc. So we do that very well, and we probably do that very well in the kingdom as well. That second layer, we don't pay attention to. It's the heart. How to connect, motivate, align stakeholders, and so on. And we focus so much on execution, that third layer, which is, we talk about that, of course, in events like this one. My personal experience is that does not create the change by itself. If we can nail down the middle layer, if we can nail down how can we align the mindsets, around the missions, around the impact we create, what's in it for every one of us in terms of contribution, create a new sense of ownership. I think both the next generation, this generation, and even the future that we don't know much about how it's going to unfold is going to be a lot more meaningful, because all of us want to do jobs that are meaningful. All of us want to be part of initiatives that make a sense and impact. So my personal experience is life requires us to have that sense of urgency and realize that the creative time that we have is limited. So the more we expand that, the more we utilize technology to give us more of the time to innovate, the higher the likelihood we're going to be very successful.
That's amazing. So that brings me to my other question. Is there any, are there any takeaways or trend or advice that you would like to share with the attendees of?
Yes, absolutely. So the beauty of events like this is that if you are sincerely willing to learn, there is always opportunity to learn. So if I look at just the last couple of days, I had a masterclass the first day. I was very fortunate to learn from the participants. If we pay attention, there's always a theme of discussion that you can learn from. So for example, one of the key takeaways is that when you yesterday I was in a think tank discussion, for example, when you allow yourself to not take things personally, when you allow yourself to realize that the exchanges that are taking place around you, if they are totally opposing the opinion you have or your experience that you've gained over the years, this is a proof that you're actually in the right place, because you are able to sit back almost and get yourself to a place where, hey, I can actually rethink how I viewed this for a very long time. And if we do that, you hear a lot about growth mindset. You hear a lot about how AI, the next version, for example, is going to allow us to even capture some of the emotions and so forth. But we as humans, that human digital thread, for example, you see it very relevant here, and it's a takeaway for me that there's more needs to be done in terms of finding ways we can adapt better, we can empathize better, and I think that human chance for doing more meaningful work, I think it has been a very strong takeaway for me here. But the most impressive takeaway is the level of energy that exists here. It gives me a great sense of confidence that the next generation will have a much better opportunity if we give them the opportunity, the chance, and if we're willing to make sure that, yes, maybe the generation before you has, insights and ideas, but the future shaping is in your hand. We want to enhance that decision-making muscle, and inshallah, the next gen is going to be able to do that.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Dr. Alaa, for this amazing insight.
You're most welcome. You're
Thank
most
you.
welcome.
It was a pleasure having you here.
I wish the organizers continued success. Events like this really drive the profession in the right direction. So thanks again for your time. All the best.